Hello, everyone. I want to ask you something personal. Have you ever looked in the mirror lately and felt, well, a little bit like a stranger is looking back at you? It's not that you feel ugly, not at all. But maybe the spark you remember, that light in your eyes, just doesn't seem to be there anymore. It's a quiet feeling, but it's a heavy one. Many of my patients, people I've known for years, share this exact feeling with me. And what do they usually do? They go to the department store and spend their hard-earned money, sometimes hundreds of dollars, on these fancy jars of cream that promise miracles. But here's the quiet truth. Those products often deliver little more than hollow promises and a shrinking wallet. The real danger isn't the wasted money. It's the slow, steady erosion of your self-worth, that creeping feeling that maybe it's just too late to change anything. But as a family doctor who has cared for seniors for over 3 decades, I'm going to tell you a shocking truth. The most powerful solution for reclaiming that radiant feeling doesn't come in a $150 jar. It comes from something wonderfully simple, completely natural, and costs no more than a few cups of coffee. I'm not talking about theory. I'm talking about a real person. Let me tell you about my dear patient, Eleanor, who is 78 years young. When she came to my office just 6 months ago, she sat right where you are and told me, "Doctor, I feel like I'm fading away." She had tried everything. But today, people who meet her for the first time guess she's 65. And that incredible change didn't come from any prescription I wrote for her. In this video, I am going to share Eleanor's exact story. We are going to explore the simple, natural oil she used. We'll break down how it works, the common mistakes to avoid, and how you can begin this very same journey, safely and effectively. Everything I share is grounded in simple science and my real-world experience with patients just like Eleanor. There are no marketing gimmicks here, just the truth. And please, make sure you watch until the very end, because I will reveal the one simple habit that Eleanor combined with this oil, a small secret that helps amplify the results and can truly change the way you feel when you wake up each morning. Before we dive in, I truly want to know how many of us have faced this. If what I just shared feels familiar to you, please take a moment to comment a simple yes below. It helps me understand, and more importantly, it shows others in our community that they are not alone in this feeling. Okay, let's get started. Alright, so let's begin with the very first hurdle that Eleanor had to overcome. And frankly, it's a challenge I see almost every single day in my practice with patients who are navigating their later years. I call it the trap of empty promises. So many of us, just like Eleanor, find ourselves standing in the brightly lit aisles of a pharmacy or a department store, looking at rows upon rows of jars and bottles. They're all beautifully packaged, and they all whisper the same seductive promise. The promise of turning back the clock. We see the ads with flawless models, we read the labels with impressive-sounding scientific terms, and we can't help but feel a flicker of hope. And so, we reach for our wallets. We spend our hard-earned money on these products, hoping that this time, this one will be different. But here is the fundamental problem, and from a medical standpoint, the science is quite clear. Think of your skin like a house. Most of these expensive creams, these $100 serums, they only work on the very top layer of your skin, the epidermis. This is like putting a fresh coat of paint on the roof of your house. It might look a little brighter for a short while, but it does absolutely nothing to fix the foundation, the deep structure that's actually holding everything up. The real work of our skin, the production of collagen that keeps it firm, the elastin that keeps it supple, all of that happens deep down in the dermis, the foundation. And most creams simply cannot penetrate that deep. Now, why does this trap become so much more potent as we get older? It's because the little construction crew inside our bodies, the one that used to repair everything so quickly when we were younger, has started to slow down. Our natural ability to rebuild that foundation diminishes year by year. So, what our skin desperately needs isn't another coat of paint. It needs high-quality building materials. It needs deep, genuine nourishment that can be recognized and used by our cells to do their repair work. This is where the emotional toll comes in, and this is the part that truly breaks my heart. I'll never forget the day Eleanor sat in my office and finally confessed what was bothering her. She told me, her voice a little shaky with embarrassment, about a particular cream she had bought. It came in a heavy, ornate glass jar, and it cost her over $100. $100. She looked at me and said, "Doctor, that's more than I spend on my groceries for an entire week." Every night, she would open that jar and feel this heavy wave of guilt and disappointment wash over her. She used it dutifully, hoping to see a change, but the only thing that changed was the slow emptying of the jar. She described this painful cycle so perfectly. First comes the hope when you buy it. Then, the ritual of applying it. And then, the slow, creeping disappointment when you look in the mirror day after day and see no real difference. That disappointment turns into frustration. And eventually, that frustration settles into a quiet resignation. A belief that you are the problem, that your skin is simply beyond help. You start to feel that you've let yourself down. That is the true danger of these empty promises. It's not about the money. It's about the damage it does to your spirit. So, the very first step in this journey, the one Eleanor took, is the most crucial. It is to simply stop. Stop chasing these expensive, superficial miracles. Stop allowing these companies to sell you hope in a jar, only to leave you with disappointment. Instead, I want you to start thinking differently. Let's shift our entire mindset from desperately trying to fix the surface to lovingly feeding the foundation. We need to stop thinking about cover-ups and start thinking about true nourishment. Providing your skin with something essential, something honest, and something that comes directly from nature itself. So now that we've decided to step away from those empty promises, you might be asking, "All right, doctor, what's the alternative?" And this brings us to the very heart of Eleanor's story. It's the simple, honest solution that nature provided. It's called rosehip oil. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. Rosehip oil. It sounds almost too simple, doesn't it? In a world that tells us that solutions must be complicated and expensive to be effective, something so humble can be easy to overlook. But I am here to tell you, as a doctor who values what truly works, that its simplicity is precisely where its profound power lies. This isn't a trendy new ingredient cooked up in a lab. This is a time-tested secret, a piece of natural wisdom that has been passed down through generations. So let's break down what this oil actually is and why it's so uniquely suited for skin that has lived a long and beautiful life. From a scientific perspective, rosehip oil is a powerhouse of 3 essential nutrients that our skin absolutely craves. First, it is incredibly rich in a natural form of vitamin A. Now, you may have heard of synthetic versions of this, like retinol, which can often be very harsh and irritating, especially for sensitive skin. The vitamin A in rosehip oil, however, is gentle. It works with your skin, not against it, to encourage cell turnover. In simple terms, it helps your skin gently shed the old, tired cells on the surface and reveal the fresher, healthier cells underneath. Second, it contains a wonderful amount of vitamin C. We all know vitamin C is a brilliant antioxidant. Think of it as a protector. Throughout the day, our skin is exposed to environmental stressors that can cause dullness and age spots. Vitamin C helps to shield the skin from this damage and brings back a natural brightness, a luminosity that doesn't come from makeup. And third, perhaps most importantly, it is packed with essential fatty acids. Omega-3, 6, and 9. This is the part one really want you to focus on. These fatty acids are, quite literally, food for your skin. They are the primary building blocks for healthy skin cells. They are what give our skin its plumpness, its elasticity, its ability to hold onto moisture, and feel soft and supple to the touch. Now, here is the critical reason why this is so much more effective than a cream. As we age, our body's ability to produce these vital fatty acids declines significantly. This is a core reason why our skin becomes drier and thinner over time. It is literally starving for these nutrients. And unlike complex chemical compounds that the body might see as foreign, our skin recognizes these natural oils. It knows exactly what to do with them. When you apply rosehip oil, it's not just sitting on the surface. It is welcomed in. It is absorbed deeply into that foundational layer of the dermis, delivering those essential building materials right where that little construction crew needs them the most. The evidence for this isn't just anecdotal. There are numerous scientific studies that have validated the effectiveness of rosehip oil in improving skin hydration, elasticity, and even reducing the appearance of scars and fine lines. But beyond the clinical studies, there's the human evidence. For centuries, The indigenous women of the Andes Mountains in Chile, the Mapuche people, have used this very oil to heal and protect their skin in a harsh environment. Their tradition is a powerful testament to its efficacy. This is precisely the wisdom Eleanor tapped into. She stopped trying to force a change with harsh chemicals and instead chose to offer her skin gentle nourishment. She let go of the need for a complex, 10-step laboratory experiment and embraced the simplicity of a single, powerful ingredient from Mother Nature. So, my invitation to you is this: allow yourself to believe in a simple solution. You don't need a chemistry degree to understand it. You just need to trust in the profound wisdom of nature. If you believe in the power of simple, natural solutions, I would love for you to affirm that. Please, take a moment and comment on the word nature down below. It's a wonderful way to show that we are all on this journey together. Alright, we've established that this simple, natural oil is a wonderful tool. But like any powerful tool, whether it's in a workshop or in your medicine cabinet, you have to know how to use it correctly to get the best results and, more importantly, to stay safe. When Eleanor first started, her enthusiasm got the better of her, and she made a few common mistakes right at the beginning. And I want to walk you through them because they are the very same missteps that I see many of my own patients make. By understanding them, you can skip the learning curve and get straight to the benefits. So, let's go through them. Mistake number 1. The more is better fallacy. This is the most common mistake of all. When we have something that feels good and promises to help, our first instinct is often to think that if a little is good, then a lot must be better. So, in those first few nights, Eleanor would put a large puddle of oil in her palm and massage it all over her face, believing she was giving her skin an extra rich treatment. But here's the medical reality of it. Your skin is like a sponge. It can only absorb a certain amount of liquid at one time. Once it's full, it's full. Any excess oil doesn't get absorbed. It simply sits on the very top layer of your skin, creating a greasy, sticky film. This not only feels uncomfortable, but it can actually be counterproductive. That heavy layer can block your pores, preventing your skin from breathing and carrying out its natural nighttime functions. This is especially true as we get older. Even though our skin may feel drier, its ability to absorb things can sometimes be slower. The result is exactly what Eleanor experienced. She told me she would go to bed feeling sick and uncomfortable. In the morning, her face would still feel greasy, and she'd notice oil stains on her pillowcase. It was a clear sign that the product wasn't getting in. It was just sitting on top. So, please, hear me on this. You must resist the urge to use too much. The solution is simple. You only need 3 to 5 drops. That's it. 3 to 5 small drops are all your skin needs to get the full benefit. Mistake number 2. Applying to an unprepared canvas. On some nights, especially when she was tired, Eleanor would skip washing her face. She reasoned, well, I don't wear makeup, so my skin must be clean. It's a line of thinking I hear all the time, and it makes perfect sense, but unfortunately, it's incorrect. Think of it this way. Throughout the day, even if you stay at home, your skin is constantly working. It produces its own natural oils, it sweats, and it collects microscopic particles of dust from the air. This creates a very thin, invisible barrier on the surface. If you apply that precious rosehip oil on top of this barrier, you're essentially pouring water on a raincoat. It simply won't get through to where it needs to go. The oil will be blocked by the day's grime, and you will get almost none of the benefits. As our skin matures, our natural process of shedding old cells slows down. This means that cleansing becomes even more essential to clear the way for any nourishment to be absorbed. So, the corrective action here is non-negotiable. You must always start with a clean face. It doesn't require a harsh scrub. Just a gentle wash with warm water and a mild soap is perfect. Always prepare the canvas before you create the art. And finally, mistake number 3. Using it at the wrong time of day. This is the most important mistake to avoid for safety reasons. In her initial excitement, Eleanor thought about applying a few drops in the morning, too, for all-day benefits. This is a critical error. Here's why. The natural vitamin A in rosehip oil, which is so wonderful for cell renewal, can also make your skin more sensitive to the sun. This is a well-documented phenomenon known as photosensitivity. If you apply it and then go outside, Even on a cloudy day, you are increasing your skin's vulnerability to UV damage. You're not protecting it. You're putting it at an unnecessary risk for irritation, redness, and potentially even new sunspots. Our skin is already more delicate and prone to sun damage as we age. We want to do everything we can to protect it, not weaken its defenses. Eleanor was fortunate. She mentioned going for her morning walk and feeling a slight stinging on her cheeks, which was the warning sign she needed to stop. This oil is a nighttime-only treatment. It is designed to work its magic in the dark, while you are sleeping, and your body is in its natural, deep repair cycle. So the rules are wonderfully simple. 1. Always start with a clean face. 2. Use just 3 to 5 drops. And 3. Only, ever, apply it at night. Was any of this surprising to you? If you learned something new just now, let me know. Take a moment and just comment the word WOW below. So, you've avoided the expensive creams, you understand the power of this simple oil, and you know exactly how to use it correctly. This is the point where the Real journey begins. And this next part is, perhaps, the most important lesson Eleanor learned, and one that I must stress to you as your doctor. In our modern world, we are conditioned to expect instant results for everything. Instant coffee, instant communication, instant everything. But true, deep, lasting healing, that is one thing that can never be instant. It requires a beautiful and often forgotten virtue: patience. This isn't just a philosophical idea. It's based on the fundamental biology of our bodies. Let me explain. Your skin is not a static object. It is a living, breathing organ that is in a constant state of renewal. Deep down in the foundational layer, new skin cells are being born every single moment. These new cells then begin a slow and steady journey up to the surface. When you're young, this journey, known as the skin cell turnover cycle, takes about 28 days. However, a key aspect of the aging process is that this entire cycle begins to slow down. For those of us over 60, this journey can take 45 days, 60 days, or even longer. This is the core reason why changes don't happen overnight. You have to give those new, healthy cells that are being nourished by the rosehip oil enough time to complete their full journey and reach the surface where you can actually see them. You are not just changing the surface, you are changing the entire system from the ground up. And that, my friends, takes time. Eleanor's journey is the perfect real-world example of this biological timeline. She was so wonderful about keeping a little journal, and she shared it with me. Her notes paint a perfect picture of this gradual, beautiful unfolding. In weeks 1 and 2, she didn't write about looking younger. Not at all. The words she used were about feeling. She wrote, "My skin doesn't feel tight in the morning anymore. And, when I touch my cheek, it feels softer." This was the very first sign. The oil was delivering that deep hydration and nourishment. The foundation was being fed. Then, we get to weeks 3 and 4. This is when the first visible changes began to appear. She noticed that her overall skin tone looked more even. Some of the lighter age spots seemed to be fading, blending in. And she described a subtle brightness, a little bit of a glow that she hadn't seen in years. This was the result of those new, healthier cells starting to get closer to the surface. The first hint of the renewal to come. And then came the moment that made her realize it was all worth it. It happened in week 5. A moment she will never forget. Her 12-year-old granddaughter, who is brutally honest as only a 12-year-old can be, was looking at her intently across the kitchen table. And she suddenly asked, "Grandma, are you wearing makeup?" Eleanor laughed and told her, "No, sweetie, this is just my face." The little girl came over, touched her grandmother's cheek, and said, "It looks radiant." Radiant. That was the word. It was the moment that the outside world finally reflected the healing that had been happening on the inside. It was confirmation, from the most honest source imaginable, that her patience was paying off. So, here's my prescription for you, and it's less of a medical instruction and more of a heartfelt plea. Please, do not give up after a week or 2 if you don't see a dramatic transformation. You must commit yourself. A gentle, loving contract. Give this process at least 8 weeks. 2 full months. See it not as a chore, but as an act of profound patience and self-care. Every night that you apply those few drops, you are not just putting oil on your skin. You are planting a seed. And just like any seed, you must tend to it, water it, and give it the time it needs to blossom. The results, when they come, will be all the more beautiful because you waited for them. We've talked about the science, the patience, and the practical steps. But now I want to share the secret ingredient that Eleanor discovered along the way. This was the piece of the puzzle that elevated this entire process from a simple skincare routine into something much, much deeper. It's the realization that the true, lasting change doesn't just come from the oil in the bottle. It comes from the quiet, intentional moments you give to yourself each night. It comes from turning a simple action into a healing ritual. The problem so many of us face in our busy lives is that we treat self-care as just another task on our to-do list. We rush through it. We put on a cream while thinking about the bills we have to pay or the news we just watched. We go through the motions, but our minds are a million miles away. And by doing that, we miss out on the most profound benefit. From a medical and psychological perspective, there is immense power in creating a consistent, calming nighttime ritual. Think of it as a gentle signal you send to your entire nervous system. Throughout the day, our bodies are often in a state of high alert, producing a hormone called cortisol, the stress hormone. Chronically high levels of cortisol can interfere with our sleep, our mood, and even our body's ability to repair itself. A calming ritual, even one that is just 5 or 10 minutes long, acts as a beautiful transition. It tells your body and your mind, the day is done. You are safe. It is now time to rest and to heal. This simple act can help lower those cortisol levels, preparing you for a deeper, more restorative sleep. And as we all know, good sleep is the ultimate foundation for good health, both inside and out. This is the secret that Eleanor unlocked, almost by accident. She decided that instead of just quickly rubbing the oil on her face before hopping into bed, she would turn it into her special time. Her 5 minutes of peace. Here's what she described to me. After washing her face, she would sit comfortably in front of her mirror. She would put those few drops of oil into her palm and gently rub her hands together, not just to spread the oil, but to create a little bit of warmth. Then, as she brought her hands to her face, she would pause for a moment and just inhale the soft, earthy scent of the oil. A deep, calming breath in, and a long, slow breath out. She would then begin to apply the oil, not with hurried, rough movements, but with slow, gentle, circular motions. She would start at her forehead, then move down her cheeks, around her mouth, and down her neck. And with each gentle touch, she would silently thank her body. She told me she would think things like, "Thank you for carrying me through another day." It sounds so simple, but it was a revolutionary act of kindness toward herself. She said that for the first time in years, she was touching her own face with love instead of with criticism. She wasn't just applying oil, she was applying gratitude. She told me, "Doctor, those 5 minutes have become the most peaceful part of my entire day. It's my time. It's not for anyone else." So, this is my final piece of practical advice for you today. Please, do not just put on this oil. I invite you to truly anoint yourself with it. Transform this simple action into your own personal ritual of healing and self-love. Put on some soft music if you like. Dim the lights. Turn off the television. Give yourself these few, precious, uninterrupted minutes. It is in this quiet space of intention that the magic truly happens. It's where the nourishment from the oil on the outside and the nourishment from the peace on the inside come together to create a change that is so much more than skin deep. We've now arrived at what I believe is the most beautiful and, frankly, the most medically significant part of this entire journey. It's the part that goes far beyond skin. It's about the profound connection between how we feel in our own reflection and how we choose to live our lives. So often, especially as we age, there's a mistaken belief that taking care of our appearance is an act of vanity, that it's superficial. Many of my patients feel almost guilty for wanting to look good. But I am here to tell you, with all my conviction as a doctor, that this could not be further from the truth. This is not about vanity. This is about dignity. And what Eleanor discovered is something I have seen time and time again in my practice, a kind of beautiful domino effect. Here's how it works from a psychological standpoint. When you begin to take a small, consistent, loving action for yourself, Like this nightly ritual, you are sending a powerful message to your subconscious mind. The message is, I am worth this time. I am worth this care. And when you start to see a small, positive change in the mirror, it doesn't just change your skin. It changes your outlook. That little boost of confidence becomes the first domino to fall. It makes you stand a little taller. It puts a little spark back in your eye. And that first domino then gently tips over the next one. This is where we see the physical manifestations of an internal shift. For many seniors, a loss of confidence can lead to a slow, almost imperceptible withdrawal from life. It's a symptom I see all the time. Maybe you start saying no to invitations to go out with friends. Maybe you find yourself always reaching for the same loose, dark clothing that helps you feel hidden. You avoid having your picture taken. This withdrawal isn't just a social issue. It's a serious health issue. Isolation and loneliness are two of the greatest health risks for people over 65. And this brings me to the most wonderful part of Eleanor's story. It is the most powerful piece of evidence I could ever share with you. A few months into her new ritual, she received an invitation in the mail. It was for the 80th birthday party of a dear old friend. It was going to be a formal affair. A lovely dinner, music, people she hadn't seen in years. She told me her very first, immediate reaction was to think of an excuse to say no. Of course, it was. That had become her habit. The thought of getting dressed up, of being in a brightly lit room full of people. It was overwhelming. She felt she no longer belonged in those kinds of gatherings. But then, something different happened. That evening, as she was getting ready for bed, she sat in front of her mirror to do her ritual. And she just looked at herself for a long moment. It wasn't youth she saw staring back. Not at all. It was something far more valuable. It was dignity. It was serenity. For the first time in a very long time, she liked the person she saw. And in that moment, she made a new choice. She went to her closet and pulled out a beautiful, dark blue dress that she had loved many years ago but hadn't worn in ages. She put it on. She put on a pair of small, simple earrings. And she left her house with a genuine smile, a feeling she told me she had almost forgotten. At the party, friends came up to her, telling her how wonderful she looked. But she said the most beautiful part wasn't the compliments. It was the feeling inside. She laughed more easily. She engaged in conversations. She didn't feel like hiding. The change in her skin was visible, yes. But the real transformation was in her spirit. It was the joy of participation. It was the feeling of being present in her own life again. This is the domino effect in action. That tiny, 5-minute ritual every night didn't just soften her wrinkles. It softened her resistance to living. It gave her back a piece of herself she thought was gone forever. So please, understand this. This small act of care we are discussing is not a superficial fix. It is a catalyst. It can be the first step in a chain reaction of positive choices that leads you back out into the world, back to your friends, and back to a life filled with joy and connection. And that, more than any cream or oil on earth, is the true secret to a long and beautiful life. So, where does that leave our dear Eleanor today? Her story, which began with that quiet, heavy feeling of being invisible, has blossomed into something truly beautiful. Today, Eleanor is living a life that is full, vibrant, and joyful. She isn't trying to look 40 years old, and she has no desire to. She is proud of her 78 years. She embraces them. But she now lives those years with a quiet confidence, a radiant peace, and a genuine love for the woman who looks back at her in the mirror. A woman she had thought she had lost forever. The spark she felt was gone. It's back. And I can tell you from seeing her in my office just last week, it is shining brighter than ever. And her journey brings us to the most important lesson, the core truth that I truly hope you take away from our time together today. Self-care has no expiration date. It is never ever too late to begin choosing yourself, to begin treating yourself with the same kindness and tenderness you so freely give to others. True rejuvenation, the kind that lasts, isn't about trying to erase the beautiful map of your life from your face. It's about nourishing it. It's about caring for it, so that your story, your incredible journey, can shine through with health, with grace, and with profound dignity. That small bottle of oil for Eleanor was not a magic potion. It was a catalyst. It was the first, simple step that reminded her she was still worth the effort. As we wrap up our time together, we've explored a story of hope and a simple path to rediscovering that inner glow. But as your doctor, I know that knowledge is only powerful when we put it into action. So now, I have one important question for you. What is the one commitment you are making to yourself after watching this video today? It doesn't have to be a grand gesture. It could be as simple as, I promise to take 5 minutes of quiet time for myself each night. Or, I promise to look in the mirror and find one thing to be grateful for. Whatever it is, please share your personal commitment in the comments below. Your promise will not only empower you, but it will serve as a beautiful inspiration for every single person in our community who reads it. Let's lift each other. And if you found real value and a little bit of hope in our time together today, please show your support by giving this video a simple like. To ensure you continue on this journey of health and empowerment with us, and never miss another video full of life-changing wisdom, please hit that subscribe button. It's more than just a click. It's your way of joining a wonderful community of people who are all dedicated to living their golden years with dignity and joy. And finally, think of just one person in your life. One friend, one family member, who might be feeling a little bit invisible today. And please, share this video with them. You never know. That simple act of sharing might just be the spark they need. Thank you so much for being here with me today. Take good care of yourself. And I will see you in the next video.